Antelope, cantaloupe, peanut, and snail went on a whim to the sea for a sail. Riding the waves with some otters and birds, they wondered what things were like water, and words such as willow tree washed through their minds, leaving fresh trails of clear water behind. Shortly, they came to an island of sand, and feeling that this was a good place to land, they rested their souls on the shore for a while, and woke to the sound of an old crocodile, saying, "Eagles and seagulls are two different birds, and as such they lay two unique types of turds. But icebergs and rivers and clouds are the same, and though they may answer to separate names, they're all simply water, which changes its form depending on whether it's hot, cold, or warm. Now, if that's understood, then give this theme some thought. Each one comes from the other as often as not." Yes, well, thank you, said Peanut and Snail. But Cantaloupe felt it was time to set sail for another adventure, and the others agreed. So Antelope translated thought into deed and hoisted the sails of their small wooden boat, thanking the stars that the thing could still float. The next place they landed was different by far. The first thing they saw was an old burned-out car, then mountains of garbage that littered the streets, and doorways where people with nothing to eat lay curled up and coughing and waiting to die, wondering what plan they were part of and why. The Cantaloupe cried, and the Peanut turned pale, till a fine inspiration touched the heart of the Snail. "My friends, have we not in our very own ranks a source far more powerful than money and banks? For these people who suffer, who live life in need, are longing to know the great gift of the seed." Well, when Cantaloupe heard what the Snail had in mind, she gave a great wiggle with her big round behind, and out came her seeds, 64 in a row, into soil prepared not with a shovel or hoe, but with Antelope's antlers. You see, just for the birth, he'd been clearing the garbage and plowing the earth. The soil was as rich as the poor people's tears, and the garden that grew was the greatest in years. But our friends had so many more places to go that they had to move on and let cantaloupes grow by themselves, although people were gathering round to pull weeds and plant more of the seeds that they'd found. They hadn't been walking a very long while when whom should they meet but the old crocodile. He had brought all his books and his charts and his chalk, and quite true to his nature was ready to talk. So our friends gathered round him, for better or worse, to hear how he started his lectures next verse. "Good heavens! I thought you would never arrive. We've so much to cover, so let's please look alive and just spare me a moment of your precious time so that we might discuss what I'm sure you will find a most interesting subject, for it has much to do with those seeds you just planted and the garden that grew. You see, everything follows nature's own divine laws, and where there is suffering, if grief is the cause, then the warmth of your love will evaporate tears, and the seeds of your souls will plant strength amid fears. So that garden you grew was the product of love and the union of earth with the heavens above." "Precisely," said Peanut. "I see," said the Snail, but the Cantaloupe tugged on the Antelope's tail and whispered, "I'm tired, and my ear's getting sore. Let's catch the next wave to some real distant shore." So they bid fare thee well to the talkative Gator, who knew that they'd meet again sooner or later. Back in their boat, the blokes braved the high seas, and they rolled with the waves and they blew with the breeze. The bright sun warmed their faces and turned their cheeks red, and they ate honeysuckle till their stomachs were fed. Ah, the sweet breaths of air from the fine ocean spray inspired Snail to say, "What a jewel of a day." But as luck would have it, the weather turned sour, and the sun disappeared in the space of an hour. The seagulls exclaimed, and the winds chimed in too, and the waves rose to meet them as the sky changed its hue through the deep shades of water to an ominous black, from which it was clear there was no turning back. "Well, I'm scared," whimpered Peanut in Cantaloupe's ear. "Me too," moaned the Melon, who was trembling with fear. Then all of a sudden a great flash lit the sky, with a terrible crash that made Cantaloupe cry, but her tears were too late, and before they could think, their poor boat crashed to pieces and dumped them all in the drink. Now swimming was a skill that most of them lacked, except the Antelope, so they climbed on his back and cried, "Forward ho, mate, let's find us some land, while we'd even settle for a few grains of sand." "Some land would be grand," dear old Antelope agreed. "Lest the sea overwhelm us, land is just what we need. But which way should we turn, straight ahead or to stern?" This question drew looks of despair and concern. Why, we've no way of knowing which way is which way. Let's just follow the sun till we come to the day. But which way is that, if you don't mind the question? Well, now, don't look at me. It was just a suggestion. Then the peanut remarked, we could call Crocodile. So they argued about that for an ugly long while. With what? Just our voices? We haven't a phone. Let's face it, pea-brain, we face this one alone. But the peanut had faith that his friend would arrive. So he sucked in his breath and he counted to 5. "Ahoy there, mateys," came a voice from nearby. "What's all the ruckus about? I mean, why would you quarrel when there's work to be done and decisions to make? It can't be that much fun to float here in the dark. So come, let's have a plan to get out of the storm and back onto dry land." "Well, I need some help," said the antelope then. "Do you happen to have a big whale for a friend?" I don't know the whales who live in these parts, but the dolphins and I, well, we used to play darts. And I'll bet they'd remember and perhaps favor me with some help for my friends who are lost on the sea." Then the voice disappeared and they feared it had drowned, but shortly there came a most interesting sound, and they all knew the crocodile's words had been true, and his dark partner dolphins indeed had come through. So Peanut and Snail performed lovely swan dives to show thanks to the dolphins for saving their lives. Well, the rescue that followed was nothing unique, for these dolphins were trained in life-saving technique. But the strangest thing happened when they finally reached shore. The deep dark of the night and the ocean's great roar put our friends fast to sleep in a very short while. And when the morning sun rose, who was there? Crocodile. "Oh my, what a dream," said the cantaloupe then. "I dreamed that the dolphins had helped us again. They taught us some tricks that we might need to know, like how to go hunting with arrow and bow, how to sew some new sails and build strong wooden boats, how to mend all our trousers and weave warm winter coats. They said what we needed was to think about spring, and how spring always seems to renew everything. Then to go to the woods without making a sound, and to look for a place called the Wilderness Mound. They said that from there things would look pretty clear. Then their voices just faded, that was all I could hear." Now the crocodile said with a voice like an elf, "Oh, I couldn't have put it much better myself. It's clear that you need to begin things anew. In fact, that's precisely what you need to do. But your dolphin dream said, first find newness inside. Then your new boat will know how to float with the tide. For the sea's always changing, and sometimes we respond with the strength of an ox or the grace of a swan. But here I am running my mouth off some more. I'm sure you must find me a terrible bore." "Oh no," said the peanut. "Feel free to go on, just don't be offended by an occasional yawn." So the crocodile took an old log for a seat, and he paused for a moment just to hear his heart beat. There's a story that's told every once in a while, and it might make us cry and it might make us smile. It's about all those dolphins who helped you last night, and how they got there and why it is they don't bite. It's said that a slave ship once crashed on these rocks, and the slaves were all chained in a dark, cold, wet box. But as their ship sunk, they were singing a song. In fact, they'd been singing the whole journey long. You see, sweet, rhythmic harmony seemed to soothe their deep fears. It's kind of the same as love soothing grief's tears. And when their ship came to rest deep down low in the sea, a whole school of dolphins emerged. They were free. It seems that instead of going down in despair, the slaves had kept singing their musical prayer, and somehow they came to assist planet Earth by being midwives to a long, painful birth. So they came back as dolphins to help teach an old way, and they're still teaching us, yes, to this very day. In fact, that's how I met them. See, I share the same goals. Indeed, there's a lot of us playing similar roles. We all see how earthlings might begin things anew by once more letting nature guide the things that we do. Well, the snail was now neither alert nor awake, and the cantaloupe was thinking about chocolate cake. But the peanut was listening, and the antelope too, and they both said together, "Hey, that's why we met you. Because we learn from your words, and we share the same dreams, and we learn from your words, though we're still not quite clear what you meant about turds." "Oh, that," said the crocodile, turning quite red. "That was just something that had to be said. What I meant was that everyone's really unique, and to help them you need a lot more than technique. You need to be able to see past all those turds and hear what they're saying underneath all their words." But just then the snail seemed to stir from the deep, and he uttered some words from the depths of his sleep. "If I was in your dream, and you were in mine, and we were all sure it was real at the time, does that mean that our dreams may not always be dreamed? and that things are not always the way that they've seemed? I really don't know, said their crocodile friend. Why not ask the dolphins when you see them again? I think that you'll know them the rest of your lives, and perhaps you will meet all their husbands and wives, and perhaps you will help other people to see the great blessing of dolphins swimming free in the sea. Then the crocodile just kind of waddled away and left our friends to get on with their busy new day. And as they lost sight of him, tears filled their eyes, for they knew it was rare to find someone so wise. So for you who now listen to this long-winded tale, I do hope the winds may someday blow your sail across some of the paths that have been talked of here, that you might learn firsthand how to sail bright and clear through the storms of confusion and the oceans unknown. And always remember that you're never alone. For any old time, you can pull on the tail of antelope, cantaloupe, peanut, and snow.